Hi, I'm Pollenth, and today I'm going to talk about some of my Snim toys. I've put them in this handy box where they don't usually live because I'm not a very tidy person at all. But I'm organised for today, somewhat. So, the first one I'm going to show is a paperclip. I have a lot of these in different sizes, and they were really the first thing I used as a Stim toy. Not in the best circumstances, because at school I got in trouble for doing things like fiddling with my hair. The teachers didn't like it much and started shouting at me and things. It's sort of the teenage tween area where they decided it wasn't acceptable anymore. So I started to use things like pen caps and paper clips because they were allowed at school and I could do it under the desk where no one could see. But despite the somewhat speckled history, I do still like them. And you can move them around and do all those sorts of things. I don't unravel them. I'm gentle with my toys. Next up is something that I've played for quite a lot of years, is a recorder. This one is a Sopranino, which isn't the smallest, but is getting that way. When I use them as Stim toys, though, I don't blow through them and play them properly. I just either tap, fill the holes, or I will hold them and do the fingering, so I was playing. Something else in the recent acquisitions, this is a railway spike that holds the bits in on the rails. This was from the Volks Electric Railway in Brighton. They had them in the gift shop, and all I do with this is just hold it, because you've got the weight and the cold. I'm not the sort of person who screams and cries when I have sensory overload. Even as a child, I always went very still and very quiet. So things that you can just hold without actually moving around too much. It's a way of stimming, particularly if you're someone who doesn't get anything out of really violent movements or moving around a lot. So that can help out. Now, in the lines of things that don't require too much moving, I do have a fidget spinner. I don't really like the general plastic ones very much, but this one got the colours. You either spin it gently and see the colours, or spin it more and see the white, if I can get it fast enough. And this is a lot quieter than most of them as well, so that suits me. I'm not as fond of the sound of the plastic ones. I have other things in a similar line, including little windmills. I have some bigger ones too, but this one fit in the box nicely. And again, there's a bit of movement on my part, but it's mostly about looking at it. Visual and audio things work very well for me, which is why I like watching videos as well. And the last of these spinny things is a spinning top. See the rainbows on that side, the wibbles on this side. This one's actually made out of wood. It's a traditional spinning top. The woodturner who made it is called John Fells. So it's handmade on a lathe. Now, in mostly audio, I do like bells. And it is also cold and can be held. Now, something I only found fairly recently were tangles, which probably everyone else knew about, but they didn't sell them locally till recently. This has turned out to work quite well for me because it is a lot like fiddling with my hair. So I can wrap it around my finger do all that sort of stuff with it. And it's quite good because I can't always touch my hair depending what I'm doing. Or if my hair's wet, it doesn't really work. So it's good to have alternatives, even in places where I can touch my hair as much as I like without anyone shouting at me. I do like dice. I did play a little bit of D&D when I was younger. We had a D&D group that was my family and best friend, because I live in a family of geeks, so we do that sort of stuff. You have the dice and you can throw the dice or hold it. And I do have some sparkly ones as well. So that has a visual aspect because you can look at the sparkles in it as well as moving it around. I tend to go for things that have glycerin rather than the things you shake because I don't like moving too much, as I've said. I tend to sit quiet and still. So I'm very gentle with my stim toys, and I don't really like ones that need me to do too much. I do have this one, which if I show, it's gonna go. I don't hold rubbery textures, they don't interest me very much. I use it as it is, I bounce it, and now it's gone. So that's simply I bounce and watch the balls moving up and down. I do attempt to catch them, but it's not very reliable, so it's best to do that in the home. And softer things, I have a lot of fabricy things. So things like ribbons, headscarves, things that I can feel the fabric on. Which leads to perhaps one of the most obvious stim toys, is cuddly toys. This is Roundel. Roundel has quite a lot of textures because there's a different kind of towely, soft texture on the feet. Soft short fur. Got the smooth, sparkly eye texture. It's squishable. So I have quite a few cuddly toys, which are quite useful for something that you can squish a little bit. And also on those lines, I like the beanies because they've got the beans inside you can feel. And bugs are my thing. What I don't tend to like are the ones that are really squishy, that feel all sort of gooey, and things like the magnetic clays and the putties and all that sort of stuff. I don't hate the texture, which could be an issue with sensory processing disorder, but actually I don't. They just don't really work for stims. If anything, they cause sensory overload because there's just too much going on with that sort of texture for me. I can't really cope with them. And the last thing is a toy I always liked as a child, but I didn't realise at the time I was actually stimming with it. And that is a My Little Pony. That makes sense if you think about it, because I used to fiddle with my hair. So, have another thing, and you fiddle with the hair on the pony. These days I do that less. I tend to use the ponies more as a visual stim, because I can see them, see the colours and see the shine and the glitter moving around. But I do pick them up and fiddle with the hair sometimes. And again, I'm always very gentle with it. That's why they're in good condition. And if you have any comments about the toys, about ones that you like, or any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I hope you found it interesting.